Hello everyone, it's Reverend Deanna Cox here. I am sitting in my backyard on this gloriously cooler morning. Um, if you are where we are, or possibly where you are, it has been, I would describe as oppressive heat for quite some time now. And today is blissfully overcast and actually even misting a little bit where I'm at in Killam. The downside, well, and I won't even call it that, is it's cool enough for the mosquitoes to be out. So there we go. I am Reverend Deanna Cox, and this is our midweek reflection for July 24th. I apologize, I missed the last 2 weeks of midweek reflections, 2 Wednesdays. I was camping and I had these grand plans of getting reflections pre-recorded, and that didn't happen. And then I thought, well, I'll do them where I'm at, but we're spending time in places where we didn't have Wi-Fi, and my phone plan, which I've currently updated, but my phone plan didn't have enough data to live stream a video, or cell coverage to post one. So there we go. So I apologize for being absent for a couple weeks, but I'm back and quite restored and joyous. So it's nice to be back with you. This week, for the midweek reflection, I wanted to talk about caring. Caring for creation, caring for ourselves, caring for others. And I am actually outside my home, sitting in front of my very overgrown garden box, as you may be able to see behind me. Because sometimes in the description of this video, I asked if we had ever driven past a dilapidated property or a disheveled person who we might deem as not caring for themselves, and pass judgment on them. And if we have, that if, had we stopped to consider maybe why, for example, why is my garden box not planted, not taken care of? For me, this was a sign of my own personal mental health, my time, and also the weather. I do not do well in the heat, and so I haven't always been able to be out and in my garden. And maybe if I'm feeling depressed, I don't want to be out in my garden. That's the tricky thing with mental health, is sometimes the very things, gardening is one of those things that feeds me and replenishes my spirit. Sometimes with mental health, the very thing that we need to do, we can't always bring ourselves to do. And so I just invite us to think about caring, and how when we encounter those people and places that we're tempted to pass judgment that they aren't caring for themselves, how can we flip that into being curious and wondering if there is something that we can do to offer care, to support them in either improving their physical property or improving their own personal well-being. Because Steve and I, we have shared some news that we have purchased a property. Finally, we have an acreage. We have purchased 10 acres near Tofield, my hometown where I was born and raised, and actually the property is sort of a shirt-tail family property. It belonged to my great aunt, and I have memories of going there often as a child. And so it is a heart piece, most definitely for me. And the other part of it is the people that were living there, as their lives progressed, there was less that they were able to do. And so the property needs a lot of care. It would be easy to pass judgment on them for why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Why didn't the owner do this? And why did... But what I also am realizing, that's part of what happens when we don't have a community around us to care for us and help us care for our creation, our properties, and our legacy. And that, that's something I have to be mindful of. Both I need to ask for help when I get to that stage in my life where I can't do all the things to maintain the property that needs to be done. And also that we as community need to be putting out there as best as we can ways to help each other, to care for each other. And sometimes that care might be shoveling someone's snow that can't do it, or mowing their lawn. And sometimes the care might be, like the barn raising, right? Like coming in, we needed to get the deck at the property, put a railing on it so that it would pass the insurance. And so we asked, and we had family come and do a work bee, and my sister-in-law told her kids that this is part of what we do as family, that we help each other. And we need to, that's not just biological family, that's our church family, that's our community as family, us as faithful people caring for the planet. We are seeing the impacts of forest fires, of the heat. The forest fires, they just posted a couple days ago that Jasper, the town of Jasper, was evacuated. And, we're seeing pictures of it now. And I know that's only one of the many communities. And a lot of times the ones that don't get mentioned are places that are very vulnerable and filled with vulnerable people because they're isolated. And so I wanted to talk about caring for creation and how we can better do that, because we have seen it in our ministry in the last year or two, especially what happens when we care for vulnerable people in our midst. The joy and the blossoming that happens when we can offer simple care of a meal together, talking to one another, a place to gather. And we've seen, we've seen such flourishing happen. And so maybe we can do that for creation too in some way. So that are because actually I relate it to scripture. This is a religious post after all. I see the healing stories in the Bible as our call to care. I think in particular the story of the person who was sitting on a mat by the pool waiting to be healed, and Jesus comes by and just says, take up your mat and you're well. Like it just, whether that means that he was completely restored or whether it means that somebody finally saw the struggles that he was going through or they were going through, and did, instead of passing judgment or completely ignoring them, they offered care. And the well-being that comes with being cared for is the focus of that story, I think, more than the miraculous being restored, is the well-being that gets restored. And so I think that as people of faith, we are called to care for creation. We are actually, in the creation stories, named as the stewards of creation. It is literally our job to care. And the healing stories remind us of the power of caring for each other. So friends, as we continue in this heat, I urge you to check in with those around, see how they are coping. As you travel, and before we get back into our regular worship, as you travel, enjoy. If you notice places where caring is needed, I urge you to do what you can. And so, friends, have a blessed and caring week. Take care. Bye.